I'm going to go in here, I'm going to get them in manual screen. What you're going to do is you're going to walk up the machine and you're going to put in a material thickness. And it's going to ask you which material are you bending. Now we can develop or build a whole library of material in here. Granted, this is a machine, new machine. We haven't added a bunch of material to it yet, but it's very easy to do. Now, why does it want to know the material? Well, for tonnage calculations, different materials require different tonnages. They require different penetration depth into our tooling due to spring back and the characteristics of the material. Now we've got a tooling library. Now this machine's only got one punch program. Well, you could have large library of punches. We've got 4 dies programmed here. You can see the V die opening, a lot of characteristics of the bottom die. Also, you can give it a name, however you guys keep track, however you would like to keep track of them, so it's easy for the operator to pull the tooling up. X-axis, this would be, from the center of my radius on my punch tip to the front of the finger, because again, I'm on the manual screen. A retract point, if I program a retract, this will be at pinch point where, I come down, touch my material, back gauge is going to get out of the way. However far I program this. Speed is programmable on the R-axis and the X-axis here. Deflect to be my crowning. This particular machine has CNC crowning, which this control will control. Now it's going to automatically calculate what the crowning needs to be set at. We've engineered it, to the frame and the stiffness, and what tonnage and what by this V-die openings in the material where to set this. Again, we can adjust it if we need to. Properties. Now, I've got air bending. Typically with tooling today, that's typically what it is. Bending length would be in the Z direction, or across the width of the machine, so to speak. So say 25, I can change that. Angle, these machines work from, the Delem controls work from 180. So 180 is flat, and we subtract angle. So, 135 is a 45, so to speak, but it's, we've subtracted angle from 180. Again, I'm on manual screen. I've got corrections here, so if I bend this material, these V-dies, and I come in and I'm 1 degree open, say I'm on 136, so I would put a -1 right here, and it's automatically going to correct my penetration depth to correct for the inconsistency. Machine will repeat, the control knows, but you get different grain directions. You get, maybe the material thickness isn't exactly what we put in there. The yield's a little different than we have in our library, that kind of thing. But again, we can correct for it very quickly. Y-axis. Mute point, I can program it, but mute calculated, it's going to be, what we've set off our bottom die to mute our laser. This got a safety laser on it. And it's you got a rapid approach speed, and then you go into bending where it shifts. That's where your mute is, and it'll, again, if the machine is equipped with a safety laser, which we prefer, it'll mute the laser at this point, penetration. Now parallelism, this is the difference between Y1, Y2. We can program that. We can also toggle that off. Hit another screen in settings if we don't want our operator to be able to do that. Opening is above our pinch point. So we got 1 inch above material or pinch point. So when when the machine repeats or returns, it's going to come to 1 inch open. I can program it right there. Force 11 tons. See, it calculated automatically for this material. Now we've got 11 tons. Let's say I change this to 0.2. See, it automatically calculated or upped our tonnage. So I've got it set on automatic calculation here. Dwell time at the bottom of the bend. If I want, I've got some, for some reason I need a dwell at the bottom. I can program it here. Decompression is the reverse of bend. So, I kind of, my analogy with decompression is sometimes you don't want to let a pair of vice grips go. So you want to program a distance of decompression, the reverse of bend, instead of, just instantly letting the pressure off and letting the ram return. program that softly, let it off. It's just, you know, sometimes it's much safer to do that. Also, maybe you're trying to catch a crane or you got a big part, you know, you can program a decompression here. You can also, this is distance and this would be speed. Just like you got bending speed, you got decompression speed. They're just the reverse of each other. And wait for retract here, I've got yes. So what that would be, if I programmed to retract in here, the machine would wait at pinch point until the retract reached its position. But it might be more fluid to turn that off to where as soon as it reaches pinch position, the retract triggers, the machine starts to, or the back gauge starts to move, but I'm still bending. You know, it just you know, a lot of ways to control this, and that's the idea that the operator's able to do what he needs to do safely. Manual position. You know, you can control axis, like say if I was here. I can slowly jog stuff in if I'm setting up or fixturing. You know, just a lot of ways to look at stuff. You got a correction table too. On that, if you pull this in material and say, you know, you keep getting 1 degree correction on that material and you always bend it on a manual screen, it'll bring it in. Again, this is manual screen. If, you know, we install and train on a machine, we get, you know, operator, if we can understand this screen, we can understand the control. That's it. I mean, if you can do this, the manual screen, the other, there's a couple different ways to program this to get more elaborate parts and stuff, but if you understand what's going on here, everything else makes sense. So I'm going to go, you guys see, I've got a record function here too, that we're able to log the machine, you know, I mean, see what's going on. We can also analyze the RAM travel. A lot of nice features of these Delem controls make it very easy on us as maintenance, you know, or, you know, owners or, you know, installing machines, and I mean, Delem's very good to us. But products, I'm going to go in here. There's 2 ways to program here. Now this would be in a multiple step program typically. And like if I go in, new product would be graphical, new program would be NC. I'm going to go into new product real quick. Now I can give it a any way I want to be able to recall this or save it. Again, just like on manual screen, I'm putting in the thickness. It's asking me for material. It's asking me for width. Outer dimensions. Now, outer or inner dimensions depends on the part characteristics of what I care about. Now, calculated would be Delem's formula. Also, you could pull in a table. You know, we've had customers that maybe for years and years they've run this part and they've calculated this and calculated that. They can pull in a table for their stretch out and for their preferred radius. Now, it's very simple to, you know, program parts for this control. Change that. I mean, you can also pull whatever. See, you know, your thing is asking me for another line. But let's say that was our part in the material thickness that I just told it. So the next setup, I'm going to pick what tools I'm going to use. It's by default, it's going to pull the tools that I used the last time I did this. Again, I can select a new die, I can select a new punch, turn a punch, depending on what I'm doing. Say if I'm okay with that tooling, go to bend sequence. Now the control is going to automatically give me a bend sequence. I can edit this, let's say, you know, if I want to change that and I want to swap it or change it. See the front extend ratio, but anything in that bend sequence I don't like, swap, turn, I can do. It's very easy to do. See? Just move them, shift them if I don't like what the machine gave me. shift gauge. So you lay on finger. This machine has a CNCR axis, so we're able to, CNC move our finger down to capture that part. It's much easier for the operator to gauge that. See if I accept. Okay, our change. And the machine knows the offset distance automatically. We actually can program other stops and settings very easily too. But there's our program. Once it compute with that material thickness, those bends, this V die, it's our blank length is 21.6. I mean, that takes a lot of work out of the equation. And a lot of the Delem and their formulas and stuff are really good. And it's a lot to do with, what radius you're going to get with the particular V die that you've got in there. Really, I mean, I'm preaching the choir to most people probably, but that really affects your stretch out. But see, I got my bend sequence, I've computed it, I know my blank length. I go into program. I don't necessarily need to, but if I want to look at it so I can see all bends, here's all the criteria. The program I just made, it's got 3 bends. I can see that I have to in, rotate, and flip the part. I have little arrows at the top. The angle that I'm bending each part, and I could edit these right here. I can also, the force that it's taken, the method, bending length. I can adjust anything right here if I want to. Change speeds, change tooling. So I'm in program scene. It's very logical how they've laid this out. They spent a lot of time and energy on this. I've done a nice job. But again, program. Now if I go to auto, I made some changes in there, but once I'm in auto, I'm ready to run the program I just made. If you notice, it's the same program, test and 555. So I'm able to run it. I'm able to, there's a couple of ways I can graphically see this. Just different functions. Visualize the bend, visualize the flat, make sure I don't have any collision. I mean, the operator, maybe he pulls this product up and he hasn't bent it and ran it for 5 or 6 months and he doesn't remember the sequence. So you can pull it up and visualize it. It's just a lot of nice features. Also here, like in the manual screen, like there's three bends here. Let's say I bend and I check my angle on the first hit and I'm 1 degree open. So I would go and do a global angle correction right here. It'll correct all 3 bends. Or I can go and do a correction on each individual bend, depending on the criteria or whatever. Long story short, I mean, you're in control of what you're very quickly able to bend and produce the part that you need to. I mean, it gives you everything you need very quickly, and I mean, just simple. So auto, again, graphical. That's how you make a part. Now, to go back to our products, see, I could have all kinds. You can have directories, batches, anything saved in here. There's a lot of memory on these controls. Also, I want to bring up something here. If you go right here, I've got the whole manual loaded on this control, which is very nice. So wherever, it goes, or kind of where you're at in the manual, and relates to what you're looking at. Okay, we just got finished looking at new product. What's the graphical? I'm going to go into a new program. Now, to me, this is NC mode is the difference here, and I'll just quickly go through this. I mean, obviously you got product ID and product selection. However, you want to your procedure for keeping track of stuff and be able to retrieve it in the future. But absolute or angle, absolute would be I want my RAM to penetrate to 7.62. I've discovered that maybe in manual or something. I may have got some special tooling I made. Would be absolute. Now angle, I'm going to tell it I want 90 degrees. That makes sense. Again, I'm going to tell it material selection or material thickness. I'm going to pick my type of material. Just it's just like we've been doing. Accept that. Now, this is the tooling I want. So now I got tooling set up. So select die. Select punch. Same kind of thing you've got in there. Now, if you notice here, I've only got one bend. I could have added more or appended it, but to me, it's just simply just go to all bends, and right here I can say okay, and add bends. So I can go. So now I've got 4 bends, let's say. I'm like, okay, that's nice, but they're all the same. But let's say I go in here and say, no, I need 12 tons. If I go back, see, I can copy column. I just changed all that. So I got 4 bins, 12 ton. My opens here, but let's say on that second bin I need 2 open, and I don't want a 180, I want 90. And I want 90 here. This I want 130. 135. Let's say here I want, I don't know, 120. Enter. So I've got 4 bins. You know, my force, I can change everything on them and quickly make a program. Die, I've got bending speed, I've got back gauge. Everything about that I could possibly control and need to control, I can do quickly. But I mean, I've just made a 4-bend program. Again, the tooling program. I go into auto. There's my program. Now, notice I don't have numbers up here because this machine's not calibrated right now, but see, there's all bends. I could run it step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and run the program. And all the criteria, you know, again, I might have a small correction on bend 1. I might do a global correction. It's all right here. Stock counts up and down. Again, I can visualize all the bends here, but if I need to edit it, I do go back to program. I'm able to program if I'm unlocked, you know, the supervisor codes here. He's able to edit it depending on what code he's in. But again, very easy, intuitive control that we really like. And, again, we can, we'd like to put one in your shop, and we can definitely help you with it. But I appreciate your time, and